When you imagine a hole in the ground, you probably do not think comfortable as your first thought. But I must disagree with you and your mental image of police. Growing up, I read my father's aged edition of the 1937 J.R.R. Tolkien's book, The Hobbit, and fell in love with the rich descriptions of the main character Bilbo Baggins' home. His home just so happens to be a hole in the ground. But not just any hole. This is a spectacular hole, one that made me desperate to live in one as a kid. It's so wonderful that when one day an adventurer by the name of Gandalf the Grey Wizard calls, you'd be sure he would say no. In a hole in the ground, there lived a hobbit. Not a nasty, dirty, wet hole filled with the ends of worms and an oozy smell, nor yet a dry, bare, sandy hole with nothing to sit in or to eat. It was a hobbit hole, and that means comfort. It had a perfectly round door like a porthole, painted green with a shiny yellow brass knob in the exact middle. The door opened onto a tube-shaped hall like a tunnel. A very comfortable tunnel without smoke, with paneled walls, with floors, tiled and carpeted, provided with polished chairs, and lots of pegs for hats and coats, for this hobbit was fond of visitors. The tunnel wound on and on. Many little round doors opened out of it, first on one side and then on the other. The best rooms were all on the left-hand side, for these were the only ones to have windows. Deep-set, round windows looking over his garden, and the meadows beyond, and sloping down to the river. This hobbit was a very well-to-do hobbit, and his name was Bilbo Baggins. The Bagginses had lived in the neighborhood of the hill for time out of mind, and people considered them very respectable, not only because most of them were rich, but also because they never did anything unexpected and they never had any adventures. You could tell what a Baggins would say on any question without the bother of asking him. This is a story of how a Baggins had an adventure, and found himself doing and saying things altogether unexpected. The mother of our particular hobbit, well, before we begin about that, what is a hobbit? I suppose hobbits need some description nowadays, since they have become rare and shy of the big people, as they call us. They are, or were, a little people, about half our heights. There is little or no magic about them, except the ordinary everyday sort which helps them to disappear quietly and quickly when large, stupid folk like you and me come blundering along. They're inclined to be fat in the stomach, wear bright colors, and wear no shoes. They have good-natured faces, and laugh deep, fruity laughs, especially after dinner, which they have twice a day. Now you know enough to go on with. As I was saying, the mother of this hobbit, of Bilbo Baggins that is, was the famous Belladonna Took, one of 3 remarkable daughters of the Old Took, head of the hobbits who lived across the water. It was often said that there was something not entirely hobbit-like about them, and once in a while members of the Took clan would go missing while they were having adventures. They discreetly disappeared, and the family hushed it up. But the fact remains that the Tooks were not as respectable as the Bagginses, though they were undoubtedly richer. Not that Belladonna Took ever had any adventures after she became Mrs. Bungo Baggins. Bungo, that was Bilbo's father, had built the most luxurious hobbit hole for her, and there they remained to the end of their days. Still it is probable that Bilbo, although he looked and behaved exactly like a second edition of his comfortable and solid father, got something a bit strange from his makeup from the Took side, something that only waited for a chance to come out. The chance never arrived until one morning, long ago, in the quiet of the world, when there was less noise and more green, and Bilbo Baggins was standing at the door after breakfast smoking an enormous long wooden pipe that reached nearly down to his woolly toes. Gandalf came by.